Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the Triforce Tactics Podcast. This is episode 17. I'm your host, Spicy Appies. I'm joined by my co-host, Jirachi
Hi, again.
and RamKev.
Hello, audience. It's me, RamKev.
And we are joined today by the man, the myth, the homie. I feel like I say man, myth, the legend a lot. But Ramblinnn, hello, how are you?
Hey, I'm okay being the homie. Yo, thanks for having me back on the show. Glad to be here. Doing
Hell
good.
yeah. Let's go! The god himself. So as usual, I mean, if you actually, Ramblin, if you want to just quickly introduce yourself, people know who you are at this point. But
I hope so. I play TFT if you haven't picked that already, like most people here. I stream TFT, and I am a recent winner of the Giant Slayer Lab Partners with Mr. Robinsongz. So I imagine we'll do a little talking about that today, but I'm just glad to be here and hanging out with you guys.
Hell yeah, recent winner of that, as well as all of our hearts and all the listeners' hearts. So, anyways, my week's been great. I've actually streamed more this week than I've not streamed. And that sounds weird, right? But like if there was a glass of water and the amount that I've streamed was the water, it would be more than the empty space in the glass. I've streamed a lot this. I did 24-hour. I did like another 15 hour after 15-hour one after that. I've streamed a lot this week. It's been fun. I forced Fiora every game in a tournament, and I got to the last round of it. I don't know what I got because I went to bed before I think it was over. But it was fun. It was a good week. I enjoyed it. I love TFT. I love life, essentially. How's your week been, Kevin?
It's been good. Everything went by so quick. I don't remember what happened.
Wait,
What did I
Time does
do?
that.
Kevin, where are you in your semester?
Oh, I have no idea. Because I'm not taking any courses. Yeah. I'm done with course requirements, so all I do is research. So I don't. I audited. I'm a listener for a course. And like there's been this like fear in the back of my head. What if this like counts towards my permanent record? It won't, by the way, because I have nothing for that course. Like legitimately. I listened to some lectures, I'm like, oh, this is interesting. No homeworks, no nothings. And it shouldn't count, but I'm a little bit scared. I'm afraid my advisor's gonna come to me at some point and be like, you failed this course. I'd be like, no, I was a listener. And like, you failed it. I'm like, oh god. But hopefully that doesn't happen.
That's I mean, well, you seem okay with it. So either way, I'm rooting for you. Pog.
Yeah, it'll be fine. It'll be fine.
I was also going to say Pogo there, but I've recently found out that TFT players use Pogo wrong, and it's more of a weird champ or like a dance game than a Pog. So keep that in mind, any streamers.
Wait, you
No,
didn't
no,
know
no, no,
that?
no, 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 no. You say Pago whenever you want. We're in TFT.
I mean, okay, how's your week been, Jirachi?
I'm still Grandmaster in TFT, but it doesn't matter because I'm not competing. I'm like actually doing the casting thing because for anyone that missed it, the two, I think they're on the bottom. Mr. Ramblinnn and RamKev, they played in the double up tournament, and I was talking over them playing instead of playing. So I have no motivation to like actually maintain high rank anymore, which is fun. But also my semester's done, fucking finally. So I'm just chilling. I don't know.
You've like ascended, like the Amida Morthog. What is it? Like what is the? It's like a sutra, right? Maybe I have no idea what I'm talking about. Anyway,
Doctor Strange?
What? Happy's, are you okay?
I'm just enjoying a lot. Bramblin, before I ask you how your week has been, your bed is so organized, and for anyone who's listening to this,
Yeah.
you can't see. Thank God, my bed is not even kind of organized, and everyone's bed is the most perfectly made bed I've ever seen.
It's
Oh,
a lot
don't look
easier
at
when you
my
sleep on
bed.
top of the comforter and not under it. I just use a blanket.
Oh,
Ah.
There's no bed making going on here. It's putting pillows at the headrest.
that's like a life hack. It's like pouring the milk before you put the cereal in.
That's
maybe not.
incorrect.
Wait.
What? Wait.
Yeah, hold up.
How is that in any way relevant? Because I'm pretty sure it is correct to put the cereal in first. Appies, are you okay?
It was supposed to be controversial. Anyways, how's your week been, Ramblinnn?
It's been busy, but the good kind of busy, the kind of busy that comes off of winning your second tournament in a row and having lots of people reach out to you for many different things, whether it's coaching or
Oh,
questions or maybe some more important things that
oh,
will be determined later. But
Ramblinn's
Oh.
getting signed.
possibly, we'll see.
Oh my
the most deserved
Confirmation.
community.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. There are talks.
I will say, Ramblinnn, if you get signed, I'll probably be more excited than you will be.
We'll see about that. I'm pretty excited already, but I'm down for you to be happy for me too. I'd appreciate that support. But it's been a good week for me. I mean, I think a lot of eyes are on me for good reasons. I mean, I definitely I've been putting in some consistent work lately, so it's good to have that payoff and have people check out my channel. And I'm just trying to give back as much as I can in terms of content. I don't stream like a million hours a week like some people do, but the hours I do put out, I try to make the most of. So hopefully, people have been enjoying being a part of my streams.
Hell yeah. Anyone listening who has not checked out a Ramblinnn stream, go do it. You'll learn more in 10 minutes than you have watching every single 3-star 5-cost thing on YouTube you ever watched in your life. So go do that. To be fair, you'd also probably learn more than those videos by just like playing a game of TFT. But regardless, you learn a lot. And he has an awesome stream, so go watch it. Speaking of your stream though, Ramblinnn, someone, if I'm not wrong, someone gifted 600 subs.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So I'm not somebody that watches sub count. I haven't I'll check on my revenue at the end of the month and stuff, but I don't like follow it and say like, oh, I got this many subs today, I'm doing great. That's not what streaming's about for me. I mean, obviously money is awesome, but the exact number isn't what's important. So I haven't been paying too much attention to like how I was doing in that aspect, but I know that I've never crossed 500 subs in the 6 years that I've streamed, because I didn't start streaming TFT until set 4, but before that I was a Destiny streamer. I got partnered in 2015, so I've been partnered for a long time. Some 17 month subs out there now, but I used to play a lot with Dr. Lupo. He's a much bigger streamer now. You might know him. I recognize that name at least. He played all kinds of games, Fortnite, Tarkov, stuff like that. But we got partnered playing Destiny together. But in all of my years streaming Destiny, I was never like that big on that level that I would even hit 500 subs. So to go from what was probably in the 300, 400 range to now I'm sitting at 1200 after he's now gifted 770 subs between 2 days.
Oh, man.
That was a few. Yeah, he gifted 500 in one game, and now we're at even 777. So I very much appreciated that. It was very kind.
That is amazing and very well deserved.
Thank you.
I want to level you. I'll get you 5 subs right now if you teach me how to shoot in any shooter game, because
Any shooter,
I have the worst aim of all.
No, no, that's false. I have worse aim.
All right, but you can't
No,
coach
that's
Kevin and I
fine.
both.
That's false.
get
I
five
claim.
subs.
I claim worse aim. I claim it.
Kevin,
I
we can have a
can't-
shoot
I-
off.
Yeah, we're
I'm down for the 1v1.
most wins 5 bucks.
The 1v1 will probably take like 2 hours, and we'll both. The end of it will just be us giving up because we can't hit each other. I played Overwatch in high school, and I had the worst McCree. I loved McCree. I played him every game. My friends didn't want to play with me.
Oh, I mean, okay, I played hamster in Overwatch because I couldn't aim, so I just rolled around on the ground. That was my crutch.
I'm sure your rolling was exquisite, though.
No, it was real bad. It was
We
real
can pretend.
bad.
However, speaking of multiplayer games, TFT is now multiplayer
No
with
way.
duo mode.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, not that anyone that's caused any experience with duo mode. I think I'm the only person that doesn't have any real experience with duo mode. No, I'm saying that, but there was the big tournament. We just talked about it. You won it. Second tournament in a row, you won. How are you feeling about things?
Oh man, we'll get into the nitty gritty details of the tourney, but I just feel good in general. I mean, it's honestly, the TFT is like, you don't expect anybody to win. You don't expect anybody to be the best just because of how much variance there is to it. But when people throw a name, pull a name out of a hat, and they're like, oh, if I had to pick somebody, I might pick this team. A lot of people would say that's me and Robin just because we've performed well in the past. And to go and then deliver to those expectations, like that's honestly super satisfying because you can only I can't win every tourney, but for every tourney you do win when people have your name at the top like that, it feels really good. So I'm feeling pretty proud of us right now.
Yeah, I mean it's amazing, especially like you said in the game with variants. It is so difficult to maintain that, live up to expectations. Maintain those expectations. Constantly perform in a way that makes people think you're going to keep being the best. And you and Robin have performed over and over and over again in duos tourneys. So congratulations to both of you. So we have a lot of perspectives of this tourney in the call, and so we can go through those perspectives. We have, I mean, 3 very important perspectives. I guess 4 technically. We have Jirachi the caster. They casted it. It was very, very good commentary. They can talk about
Aw.
that. We have Kevin the player. Got second. I feel like that might be kind of shitty of me to say.
Only
But
second?
he did really well. He did really well.
Oh.
And then Ramblinnn obviously won the tournament. And then most importantly, I watched the tournament.
Couldn't do it without you.
Yeah, so we have
Actually,
a very important.
We do need the viewers to like make the tourney succeed.
Me
I wa-
specifically.
What was the viewer experience like during the 1.5 hour downtime? That's the really important.
I know I just said you have 4 very important perspectives. I did not watch during that part. That perspective was not there.
I
You are a
did
smart
watch
viewer.
it. I did actually watch it because I was not scheduled to cast that first game, and I'm happy I didn't have to because I wasn't like mentally preparing myself at all to like stall out however much time. I was just there like, oh, they're getting delayed. Okay, I guess I'm just gonna sit here and wait to cast my first game. It was a time.
For anyone who did not watch this tournament and is wondering what the hell we're talking about right now, so they had to play on the, is it public? It's the tournament realm, right? Yeah, the tournament realm.
Tournament realm.
Yeah, Tourney realm, yeah.
And so the tournament realm, to my understanding, did not have double up the mode on it at the time of the first
we
day.
tried to launch it, but it literally just loaded us into a solo game. So I'm not sure where the
Yeah.
disconnect was, but
Okay.
like, there was a double up choice. There was no double up gameplay.
And the first time it took a little while to notice too, because like you load into the game, you load in with
It's
your
not
duo,
immediately obvious.
and then suddenly you're like, hold on, because in double up the health bars, they're like colored by your team, right? There are 4 different, like in normal mode, it's all the same color. In double up, there are 4 different colors, and like you sort of look at it and you're like, wait a second, these are all the same color, and then you wait a little bit and you're thinking, and you're like, we didn't get anything dropped at like 1-4. Like, where is the cinder? And then you think about it a little bit more, and you're like, oh, they fucked up. They fucked up.
So yeah, the experience for the tournament was that the first day was played. They've been past duos tourneys. Again, the last one was last summer. We were, I think, Kevin, Ramblinnn, and I were all in it. Ramblinnn and Robin won. And
I was in it too.
Oh
you weren't. I'm so sorry. You were
It's the ego.
I'm so sorry. I
Played
totally
TFT?
forgot that. I am so. How did I forget that? I was like, I thought we were- okay. I was thinking about it. I was like, we were all in that, right? I was like, wait, I don't remember who Jirachi teamed with. There's no. Wait.
Fuzzy.
Yeah.
I am so sorry to you, Buzzy. Okay.
Oh
I'm just throwing shit
God.
all over the place. I apologize. Buzzy popped off week 1 too. I remember that.
Oh,
Your
yeah.
team, like, you guys popped off.
You
You're
hard
first
carried
overall.
me. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah. Okay, my bad. We were all in this journey. The old mode used to be that it was just a normals game, a normal format where you try not to kill your partner, basically, right? And now we have double up, so you have an actual teammate. You won't play them. You won't see, Ramblinnn hitting Robin for 20, GV8 contesting my comp, etc., etc. I guess you would still see that, but regardless. So day 1 of the tournament was the old format. It was everyone just trying not to grief their partner. It was not the double up format. And then day 2, they did get it together. It was double up. It was very cool, very fun to watch. As a viewer, I will admit I didn't do my job day one. I did not watch a lot of day one. I went to Kevin's stream. I saw that it was a normal game, and I said, "Oh, I'll come back tomorrow." And I came back tomorrow. Day two was so sick. I watched the entire broadcast, the main broadcast, which kudos to Jirachi's commentary. I never watched the main broadcast. I watched it the entire time. I watched
Aw.
Kevin and Nurgot 3 and then Cho 2 tank it for the entire fight, and then
That was
somehow
bullshit. That was fuck. This armor plating augment, man. I had Deep Blade, Last Whisper, Giant Slayer. Okay, the Cho'Gath had a Bramble Vest, and I had a Deep Blade, so it wasn't IE. It wasn't mitigating that damage. And I was fucking stuck on a Cho'Gath 1. I had the twin shot augment, the sharpshooter thing. I fucking lost to Cho'Gath 2.
He wasn't even close. Like
It
wasn't
wasn't
even
even
that close.
fucking close. The crazy thing is GBA just got strong. He won his round. And I had this fucking Urgot 3 here. Fucking shooting this Cho'Gath 2, and I lost.
it killed both of you, right? When you lost that, and then you both
They were
died.
I was so pissed because we were like about to win that lobby. Nah. You lose to Cho'Gath 2. And like, what? Hello? And this is why this is a great example of why we should nerf armor plating, friends. If Morthog is listening,
He's not
Please.
listening.
please.
No.
Sad.
But you know
In
what?
general, he
So,
is not the podcast. Though.
they won. It was back to like the old duos format. It could have been worse. The options they were weighing were either that, postpone, which, okay, just for the record, a lot of people were like, oh, why not just postpone it? Well, A, that's expensive as fuck. B, that's a logistical nightmare. Like, we already had however many people on the broadcast, plus 32 players, all commit for these times on this weekend. Now tell them, oh yeah, JK, you're not playing this today. Like, you're doing it another weekend. Hope you make it work. And that would have been a fucking nightmare. That's out the window. The other option was, oh, they had double up working on Tourney Realm, just the last patch with Cat and the targeting bug. And we also weren't sure which version of last patch it was, so we were like, is it the Scion version?
Quick, everybody look for this duo socialite bug.
Is it like duet bug, Scion, pre-nerf Cat, or is it like after stuff got fixed and the duet bug, or like after there was just no idea of like what version it was. Either way would have been a fucking nightmare. So,
And people who were having trouble like downloading.
Yeah,
It
that's
was
ultimately why we switched to just playing
Yeah.
live, because Press Event literally couldn't download it, and like it would have been another 2 hours or something.
Oh god,
yeah.
he got his Wi-Fi not holding up, huh?
Which also, in all fairness, like even P God's Wi-Fi aside, I'm pretty sure that decision was correct anyway. Just because, like, with postponing kind of out the window, you just need to think what's going to be the least amount of change from the ideal format. On a different patch cycle, maybe going back to previous patch would have been the move if it was like something towards the end of 5.5 where there were like barely any changes. But it went from Cat patch to this patch. Like, that's a giant fucking change. No. Just straight up no. That's such a huge change compared to going from double up to singles, which is a decently big change, but not as big of a change as switching patches. So, pretty sure that was correct. As much as it still sucked to have to deal with.
Yeah, I think there's so much vitriol around that patch as well, where I mean, as a viewer, right? I didn't like that patch. And day one, I didn't click off super quickly day one, right? I just trying to figure out what was going on. I enjoyed it for a little bit. I clicked off. If I saw a Cat 3 against two socialite with no duet, I would be
And a
out.
Scion with IE
Yeah.
gauntlet on.
I think it was the right decision from. I mean, you know, as a viewer, I think again there's a lot of hate around that patch, and it would have just been not a good viewing experience as well as not good for the players, right? So, kudos to them for really pulling everything together in the face of what was a huge oversight by that's a Riot thing, right? And that's not like the TFT dev
Yeah.
team. That's like a
That-
Yeah, it's like a riot. Like GSTV is not responsible for it. You know,
Oh,
the
yeah.
TFT team is not
Not- yeah.
responsible for that. That's more on Riot's side, I think.
tisk tisk
Tisk,
tisk
tisk.
tisk.
And for what it's worth, GSTV, like they were scrambling anyway. Like they did their best.
They're so good to us.
Yeah, they really are.
However,
I like Riot games.
we've talked a little about day one. How was everyone's day two? Any takers? Any takers?
I'll go last.
Okay.
Okay.
How's your day two? Okay, Kevin, how's your day two?
Day two, it was interesting. I'm trying to think about what happened. The only thing I remember from that day was when I hit Urgot 3 and I immediately fucking lost to Cho'Gath 2. That's the only thing that I'm gonna remember from. I was like, oh. The thing is, I think it was an important game too, if I remember correctly. It was like I think if GV8 and I went first in that lobby, it would have extended it.
I think that
And
was
the
the
points
lobby. I
were-
think that was the game we didn't win. I think that was the fourth game.
Oh, okay.
I think so.
Oh,
I
then it
think
didn't matter that
It
much.
didn't matter at all because you guys were just trying to get over
It didn't
10.
matter at all. Okay, fantastic. No, but
I think so. I can't remember exactly, but that
Oh,
sounds right.
yeah.
Yeah, I remember because it was the game where. So this is a testament to how fun duo mode is, by the way, to watch. Is that so? It was Emily and Rue versus you and Robin Ramblinnn, and Emily. I forget who Emily was fighting, but she won the fight. So there's a little ticker for anyone who's played duo mode that shows when the backup's gonna come, right? Because your teammates will come join the fight as soon as they finish their fight. And so the ticker on whoever Emily was fighting, she was playing a sin board, was, I shit you not, it was like 9/10 full as she got the last hit on the unit. And I think everyone was 1 HP. So if she didn't kill that unit before that ticker went down, whoever's board came over was just gonna destroy.
I can give you the rundown if we're going straight into it, but we can talk about the macro of the day and the macro of that game. But what exactly went down in that one specific game that we didn't win? Other than we made a mistake early in the game, and we'll talk about that later. But what happened in that last fight was me and Robin are 1 HP, and they're basically 2 lives. So if they lose a fight, they'd be 1 HP. They'd go to their last life. But we just came off a carousel, and I took a Zephyr. But I had salvage bin, so I can't just full drop in Zephyr. I have to actually make the Zephyr on a unit.
I hate when
But
I hate that. I hate when that
I went to
happens.
position a unit on her Shaco, and I got the exact spot down. The problem that is the unit that I positioned was a Ziggs, and I had scrap. So I put a belt on my Ziggs. It turned into a Morello, not a Zephyr, actually. So I would have Zephyr'd her Shaco, but no, I did not. So the Shaco came, killed my entire backline, and then as my Galio is mid-ult, dies, and Robin comes up half a second too short. If we had won that fight, we would have won the game for sure because Robin was obscenely strong. I was just weaker in comparison.
See, this is why it's so cool to have so many perspectives, because as a viewer, I had no fucking idea that
I don't
happened.
think
That's
the cast members
tragic.
realized either
I
what
didn't even
happened.
know that happened as a caster. Like
That's
it took
tragic.
Ramblinnn telling us in post game interview to like. I was like, oh.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that is that makes that fight seem even more insane. Because again, I shit you not, listeners, watchers, whoever, that timer, it was a fucking bomb. It was about to go off. I was clenching. I was clenching so hard. I was
Yeah.
gonna say, I don't clench for nothing. That's not very true. I do clench a lot, but it was a very fun moment. As scuffed as it sounds like it was, unfortunately. How was before we get into Rambl's perspective, I guess, how was day 2 as a caster?
I had to low key recalibrating your brain to cast double up specifically was rough. Cause it is so like day 1 was actually pretty easy because I was just you're just casting a bunch of solos players like this this mode down because you've been playing it for 6 sets now. And then you go to start casting duos and you're like, oh, there's so much like new shit that I have to worry about. And I mean, we got the hang of it, but it was fun. Like just seeing all the like duo specific stuff people were doing. Like I remember a lot of, I think the realization of how people were using the runes to make 3-star forecasts when they were shipping, or the strategy of like one person shipping over their 7th like Yone, so the other person has a whole 2-star Yone, and then that person ships that whole 2-star Yone over. Like that realization was fucking wild, and then the realization of throwing Nikos in there, like seeing like all the stuff people were coming up with was really it was a lot of fun. But yeah, casting in general is just fun. I don't know.
Nice. Yeah, you did a great job with it. I feel like it's. I mean, I think we equate things to Smash a lot on this podcast because maybe we don't. I don't know. Kevin and I play a lot of Smash, and you know how in doubles in Smash, if anyone's ever watched it, you'll get to the point where it's a 2v1, and you see some like crazy fucking combo. They just pass it. It's like a game of Pong, just across the stage, back and forth, back and forth. And there are some moments where like I was getting the same vibe. It wasn't really the same, but it looked kind of similar. Where like I think you're talking about people would try to 3-star forecast by like sending one over so that the other person could 2-star theirs and send it back, and it was just cool. It was so fun to watch. It's a cool mode.
I'm going to be eternally proud of when I called. That like we were. I don't remember who it was, but we were watching like someone had 6 copies of something.
It was me and Robin.
It was you. Yeah, it was you and Robin.
It was Robin's Jin.
Throwing the Nikos in there, and like the very specific usage of like Nikos on. I don't remember off the top of my head how it got used, but like I called how y'all used the Nikos.
Yeah, so
on
Robin,
broadcast. I was so proud of it.
Robin had 6 Jins. He had Jin 2 in that he was playing with fully stacked items, and he had another Jin 2 on bench. I had 2 Jins, but he dropped a Nico from whichever PvE that was. And I think I figured it out pretty quickly, but I wanted to talk through it with him and make sure we had the idea right. Like, Nico, your Jin, you'll have 7 Jins. Send me that Jin 1-star, I'll have a Jin 2, I'll send it back, we have a Jin 3. So it took us a turn to actually execute that, but we did get it done eventually. And I think Precedent Soju made a similar play at some point just without the Nico. So like the Nico extra element was what like was unique there.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to go back and look at that Urgot game because I'm pretty sure I got all 9 Urgots without the Cinder.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, damn. Okay.
Yeah, it really.
I just gonna
feels
keep on
like
thinking about that Urgot game, man.
it really feels like 3-star forecasts are the nuts in duos mode.
It's actually not. It's a 3-star 5 cost.
I'm upset we didn't see one of those yesterday, or not yesterday. During the tourney.
It's definitely like really within reason, especially if one of the partners is playing like a Merc board. I think it's like very reasonable to hit a 3-star 5 cost because I've seen like a Kali 3, I've seen Kaisa 3, I've seen Galio 3, and I haven't played like I've played a decent amount of double up, but like not too much. But you already see more 3-star 5 costs than in like just ladder games.
I think it gets really hard to 3-star 5 cost in a competitive setting though, and like we were talking among the casters, and we were already thinking like 3-star 4 costs might be rarer than we expect, just because on ladder y'all are playing against more or less bots. I mean, not all the time, but it's not. It's much easier to. It's much. I mean, on ladder, it's so much easier to make those 3-star 4 costs and the 3-star 5 costs. But in tourney, like it'll be harder because like people will start holding or they'll notice stuff.
I'm gonna say a quick thing about those lobbies. in those lobbies in the for the forecast, the thing is, at least from my side on that, because I think Ramblinnn and Robin were like 3-starring forecast every lobby. I'm pretty sure. And like by the time I was, because I like to do the rat thing. I like to hold. But you know, by the time I was like, all right, it's time to hold. They're around like 6, and then like everyone else would be dead. Because for some reason, those lobbies, like especially the early ones, people were dropping out quick. Not to name any specific duos, but there was always a duo that would be out like super quick, and like they couldn't hold any of the units between them. Um, I guess it's a little bit easier to hit, less easy because they put some forecast back into the pool. But like by that time, I felt like it was a little bit late to deny.
Yeah. Which I know we
Just from
talked
my
about that, and
experience.
that's like totally fair point with the 3-star 4 costs. But then once you throw in the 5 costs, like unless you get some crazy scenario with like 4 Nikos, it's a little easier to deny that just because you take one copy out of the pool. Okay, now you have to find the literal last 9 copies of this unit. You take another copy, unless you have Nikos, you can't hit that 3-star 5 cost. So
But with the Nikos, you're chilling.
with the Nikos, you are chilling.
I think just in a tourney, it's very rare you'd find yourself in a situation you actually would justify greeting for a 3-star 5 cost. Is the
also
thing.
that,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like you never like if you're in that position to hit one, you probably didn't need it to win, so you already used the Nikos to win. So it's like, yeah, it might happen, but nobody's ever going to take that risk really in an actual tourney setting.
I remember 4.5 in Worlds. I was in this lobby. I was playing TF reroll. My boy Pie Hat comes in, drops this Samira 3 on my board real quick. Yeet! That was the craziest game of all time. I gotta say. Shout out to Pie Hat, by the way.
True.
Doesn't it? I mean, if there was ever a way to make a tournament game even more of a tuber, though, just
I mean, that's
you
the
know,
dream, you know. Everybody, if you could hit a 3-star, that's like the ultimate tuber.
imagine the clickbait. It's like 3-star 5 cost does 20,000 damage and 200,000 damage in final round of Challenger Series. Or like that sounds like the sickest title for a YouTube video.
I think Pie Hats would have been the ultimate tuber if it was past day 1 of Worlds and he had gotten past day 1. Which I feel so
Oh,
bad for Pie
God.
Hat. Like, he hit a 3-star 5 cost at Worlds and didn't make it past day 1.
Did he get that on
Nah,
8?
that's crazy.
Did he hit it? I think he hit it on 9.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he hit it on 9.
It's a little
He hit
different
it on
with
9.
Chosen in the mix.
Also that.
Yeah, Chosen in the mix. You also have
Yeah.
Fortune, good old Fortune. I mean, it's Mercs
Ah.
and Fortune. They're the same exact thing. They're just,
So-
oh, God.
Speaking
You wanna-
of 3-starring stuff, this is for Kevin and Ramblin'. Do you feel that everyone's plan going in was just to the 3-star forecast? That's the win condition most of the time.
I assumed that was kind of the accepted meta for duos, and I expected a lot of it. I really feel like people underplayed forecasts in those lobbies. I don't really know what happened, but it was like a decent amount of reroll. There were some other people, like even I don't even know how many people were playing 5 costs compared to me and Robin, but I'm not saying people were playing wrong. It's just not what I expected at all. There was a lot of protected reroll, which I think gets outpaced in duos, and there weren't very many people contesting even like getting 3-star forecasts. And there was like one game I think somebody got a Seraphine, you got the Urgot and whatever else, but for the most part, it was just me and Robin actually hitting it. And that's partially because we're living the longest, but like I just felt like nobody was playing them, or at least they weren't doing a good job of holding them. Maybe for their partners, I don't know.
Yeah, do you feel
Yeah,
similarly about
I mean, like here, I do know. Just looking at the comps that, for example, Rue and Emily, I know that they were playing a lot of like 3-cost reroll. I know like Rue's sort of, or either of those two, I would like to lean more towards like the Syndicate, specifically like Shaco. I saw a lot of some mutants. There was like I do think GV8 and I put a little bit. We put prio on some of the mutant units, and I do think that, like, for example, Cho'Gath, especially during that patch, Cho'Gath 3 is very capable of taking out a major. I mean, Cho'Gath 2 is let me make my correction here. Cho'Gath 2 is very, very capable of taking out a lot of 3-star 4 costs. But yeah, I do think not many of the teams were really like looking for that. I'm trying to think about like, because yeah, I mean, I think Soju and Precedent did hit that 3-star Samira, but out of all of the 3-star 4 costs, it's really not,
They hit a
that high
Yone
up
game and a
there.
Fjord.
Yone.
Yeah,
Those are
Yone, they
auto
hit a
win by any
Yone.
means.
Yeah, I mean, like, none of the 3-star 4 costs
They're
are really
kinda
auto
weaker this
wins.
set.
They're like, I mean, like, just think about like Asol or like Bel'Koz or Lucian, right? You get those units. It's straight up like, unless somebody is playing like a very, very strong 2-star 5 cost, like a very, very strong one, those are basically auto wins, right? But like the current one, I do think that, and GV8 and I knew this going into Double Up, is like it's the meta for Double Up is you want a 3-star 4 cost. Yeah, I'm not too sure. Because like I do think that Rue and Emily just weren't really going that route for sure. I don't know about. I mean, I think Soju and Precedent were for the most part. GVA and I were less so, mostly because we were sort of on the mutant train. Yeah, we were on the mutant train. We were on that mutant copium. But it's definitely the meta, I would say, for sure. Unless you're going for Cho'Gath, then go for Cho'Gath.
Actually, speaking of the mutant train, my cycling back to day one for a second, actually, the biggest surprise for me from day one was actually Bert and Spencer not making it out. And they were like, Spencer was spamming mutants. They were in such a good spot to move on. They were like second going into the final game. And then they just went hard eighth and missed. And I think it either lost tiebreaker. I mean, actually, let me double check the points. They lost tiebreaker to Ruin Emily
Yeah.
because
It was very tight.
they got 9 points total, and Ruin Emily popped off enough to take the tiebreaker. And they were in such a good spot too, and they were playing a ton of mutants. They were working well together. My first rant of broadcast was commenting on how Bert was playing mutants, but like everything except Cho'Gath Malzahar, because he had a million mutant spats. I think he had 3 mutant spats by the end of the game. So he was playing 5 mutant with only 2 mutant units. But like they were playing so much mutant and somehow did not make it out when it looked like they were almost guaranteed going into the last game. That's
I
my
mean, that was the mutant patch, yeah, when Cho was just. I'm trying to think back, Kevin. Didn't you have a GS against the Cho too? I was thinking about this.
I had GS Last Whisper D-Blade. I had the perfect item. It was bullshit. No,
Does
but
me, or does GS not do anything against Colossuses for some
Well,
reason?
definitely doesn't do anything against armor plating.
Well,
yeah,
that-
no,
yeah.
nothing does anything against armor plating though. You're immune to damage. You
Does
just
Urgot-
can't take damage.
Does Urgot keep ulting the Cho'Gath like as he's
Yes.
armor plated?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Ah,
So the thing is, I had the sharpshooter one that like is the 40%, but the thing is that 40% was going towards the Scion on the side, who also had armor plating. So like, you can hit multiple units, but if neither of them take any damage, then nothing's gonna happen. So like, you know,
the
they're
perfect
doing that.
super shitty storm.
Oh my god. Maybe I needed a hurricane. I don't think hurricane would have done anything
No,
either,
because
but
the
like,
hurricane would have hit the Scion.
Also hit the
Yeah.
Scion.
yeah, that's it. Because I was like, oh my god, I even have this sharpshooter augment. I have only single target, but I have the twin shot sharpshooter, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is gonna be great. And then I got Cho'Gath 2'd on, and then GV8 is over here with his like 2-star Victor, right? He just got it, We did a little miscoordination on that. We probably could have lived because we would have had one life if I sent it to him earlier, but I hit it like really late in the round, and he had to send me his Victor, and I had to send it back because I had 2 Victors on my bench, but it was a bit slow, so couldn't get it back to him in time. But yeah, I mean, Cho'Gath was incredibly strong that patch. I still think like certain situations, like right now, he's very, very strong, but less so. Because I mean, what did they do? They took off
Health,
was it
AD,
some health, some AD. Did they nerf his mana at all, or
I think so.
they nerfed his mana as well, right? Like, and yeah, the thing about Cho'Gath health, right, is that it scales incredibly well. If you give him 100 health, because his stacks scale off of his base health, or like however much base health he would have if you include like bruisers or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So you take off 100 health from Cho'Gath, that's actually in the late game like a lot, like a lot of health. But
Yeah.
you know, because I remember one of the games, I forget who, I assume it was Ramblinnn and Robin. They had like a 3-star Jhin, and I had a 3-star Cho'Gath, and he was still able to win some rounds just as a 3-star Cho'Gath. So like, you know, that unit was like very strong, very, very strong, and it's a little bit more like it's even more consistent than going for a 3-star 4 cost and double up, right? Because it's a 3-star 3 cost.
Yeah.
Fairly straightforward. Why?
Speaking of the Jhin, did you guys 3-star a Jhin twice over the course of
So
the
Yeah,
same
they
day?
did try it.
we 3-starred a 4 cost every game. We had an
Yeah.
Ori, 2 Jins,
Yeah.
a Fiora, and a Yone.
Were you? Because I feel like a Jhin is one of the more consistent 3-star 4 costs. If you do manage to hit him, you have a good board around. And were you guys playing more towards Jhin if possible? And situations or just happened to get on the Jhin board?
Robin was playing general AD flex, and that was just whichever of the 4 costs he could roll into. I don't think he played any Urgot. That ended up being the most contested one, but it just seemed like whatever route was open, he just took it, and that was the main. Like, we didn't go into the tourney with like a specific strategy, because honestly, like, I heard a lot of people talking like, oh, Robin and Ramblinnn, they obviously practice the most. I don't think Robin's played very much duos at all. We've played maybe 15 games together. My experience was all playing with Hafu, who we played a ton when duos came out. So, like, me and Robin obviously have that built up chemistry from just, being partners for a while, teammates, whatever you want to call it. But we kind of just winged it strategy wise, and it worked the first game. It's like, hey, we'll just stick with this. It's working, and rode it all the way through. I played 5 costs. He plays 4 costs, and that let me push 8. I'd roll for 1 5 cost, and then I'd send him whatever 4 costs he needed for a 2-star.
That was the game plan.
Pretty much
You're
so.
on 5 costs.
He was stabilizing the mid game until I could get strong enough to win with a 5 cost, and then we would bounce back and go for the 3-star 4 cost.
I remember the NGVA and I were paying attention to this like during the tourney. It was like, oh, it's GA Archangels, the classic on Ramblinn's board, and then Robin would be going for like an AD flex, like 3-star 5, 3-star 4 cost. That's like what we noticed, and we were like, oh, maybe they came up with the strategy like pre tourney or something, but it seemed like they did it on the fly. I do remember. I just had something popped back into my brain that I wiped from my memory. Actually, game 1, I was trying to go for a 3-star 4 cost, but like, here's the issue: the 3-star 4 cost was Lux, and I was going for Lux items, blue buff, jewel gauntlet, i.e., I had those like really early on. But those items actually are not that great in the meta, or like back at that point. So like, it's just,
How do you kill Cho'Gath?
Yeah, how do you kill Cho'Gath? You can't. Even if you 3-star the Lux, you probably can't. Especially not through armor plating. I'm just thinking about armor plating so much.
Hadge.
Don't mind me.
Any armor plating removers? Question mark.
No. Give us the line. What about true damage? Can true damage go through armor plating? Don't make it go through armor plating. That would be busted.
Well, I'll say like
I'll tell you.
Oh.
Sorry, I was gonna say I'll tell you because I've been there in the Lux 3 versus Cho'Gath matchup and tournament. I was winning with 2 Lux 3s, fed my Zac to my Tom Kench by accident, so he had more HP than my Lux 3. She did not get woodlanded. Lost with 1 Lux 3. So,
yeah, it's a losing matchup. It's a losing matchup.
That was before the Cho
Uh,
buff too. So,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. But I was gonna say like it speaks to like having a plan in Tourney, and just Ramblinnn and Robin had the best plan, even if it was kind of on the fly, which I'm hearing now that it was that on the fly, like I'm shocked and also not. Cause like I was watching, I was like, okay, they clearly had this plan coming in of like, okay, if someone stabilizes super hard mid game, scale buy time for the other partner to scale off a 3-star 4 cost. And I remember in game one, it was like Robin re-rolling with the Warwick. And that was how he
Yeah.
and that was how he stabilized mid game with all those 3-star 2 and 3 costs. And including Ramblinnn sending, I think you were like
It was an
playing a
Ori
random
3.
list too, and you sent that over to
Yeah, I
complete
sent
the
the
list
list.
3 in stage 4. It's
Mhm.
like, okay, this is this is the duo strat. Having someone be super strong mid game, let the other person scale. And now I'm okay, and it makes sense that y'all are like have enough chemistry and are good enough players that y'all just came up with it on the fly. So
so yeah, if you guys did come up with that on the fly, did you have some kind of plan before the one that ended up working out before going into the tournament, or was it just we'll do our best, we'll figure it out as we go?
It was more just like what kind of comps we were leaning. I wasn't super heavy AP at the time because like the patch had just come out. It'd only been a few days, so we were
Mhm.
still figuring out what the meta really was and what your comfort picks were. But I just kind of naturally leaned into AP because no one else in the lobby was playing AP whatsoever. There was like a Lux here and there, but Tyr and Raw, I think they got picked up maybe once on like priority pick on first carousel. So I was like, okay, I'll just keep playing AP. These are free rods. Why not? Nobody's going to contest my items. Nobody's going to contest my units. I'll just take it. And I only played Lux one game, but I just naturally kind of progressed into playing Kaisa, Kali, Victor, whichever one I hit. And that wasn't, I think that was somewhat known at the time, but it was definitely not like, had been ironed out to any degree. So I just kind of figured it out as we went through it, and it was working. So I just stuck with it.
speaking of Akali, I was surprised how little Akali actually got played on that tourney, because like that was everyone was complaining about Akali on live, and then like you played it once,
So you
Bert
played
played
it
it,
once.
Soju played it, like it didn't show up as much or like was as dominant as I think we thought it was gonna be.
I think some players just weren't. I don't know if they made this decision consciously, but they just weren't able to play for 5 costs the same way they maybe had been on ladder. Maybe their early game wasn't as good, their mid game wasn't good, or maybe they're just afraid of not being able to get to it in a stronger lobby. But I don't know. They just shied away from those strategies. But like I said, nobody was building those items for Akali, so they might have seen Akali, but if you don't have the kit ready for it, you just skip over. And I imagine that happened a lot, honestly. Because a few times she did get played, she wasn't like amazingly good. Like she was okay because she's a slow carry. She's not going to be able to help your partner. But that was perfect for me and Robin because I was playing this really slow board. I played 4 bodyguard that game, and 6 players were playing AD. So I just literally had to buy time for Robin's Gen 3 to come over because my board sucked. It was awful that game. I think I had like 5 1-stars and I was win streaking. It's just because I was stalling long enough for Robin to come over.
It wasn't you that was win streaking, it was Robin that was win streaking twice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is that's a totally like that's such a big part of duos, like having someone who can stall out and let your partner really clean up things. And that's something that I think we saw early game a lot too. I think there was a game where like Kevin and GV8 were hard 100 streaks.
Oh yeah, we were hard streaking. I
were
only
playing, like-
played bodyguards.
you were
My
playing,
board
like-
was just bodyguard.
It was 4 bodyguards with a redemption on Leona. I was like, okay, nothing is killing Kevin. As long as GV8 gets over, then like it's just a free win streak for Kevin. So
Yeah.
having someone be able to stall is just the name of the game.
It's so cool too because I think it just shows you'll see boards that you would not see on live, right? Or like in a single player or free for all format. You'll have a board where it is just 4 bodyguards. There's no damage, but then the damage comes in the form of the Gen 3 coming over to your board. 15 seconds into the which I think it opens itself up to. And I want to talk about this. We can finish talking about the tournament first. If I think Ramblinnn might have a few more thoughts about his run and just the kind of mentality going into it and whatever. But we will eventually be talking in a minute here about the viability of duo mode as a very competitive format, as well as if it could maybe be the competitive format moving forward, eventually moving forward and whatnot. But yeah, we can wrap up the tournament talk first. Ramblinnn. What was the? Did you just know? Did you just fucking know that you're gone and you're gonna win, or?
I don't think you ever know when it comes to TFT, but I mean, when we won that first game, it's like it's not that I think, oh, this is easy. It's like, oh, we can do this. Because we had just come off the first day of solos, and it was a completely different experience. And my head was not in it the first day. I'm like, just get me out, and we ended up qualifying, which was awesome. It's just like I wouldn't have cared if we didn't, just because of how frustrated I was with how that day had gone so far. I was like, I'm just over it at this point. But it worked out. We made it through. We came back to the first game or on the second day, and it's like, hey, this is actually happening. We're playing duos. We just won this game. We can do this. Let's win the duos tourney. And we just kept winning. We went 1, 2, 3. Like I said, I think we choked the fourth game. No disrespect to Emily and Rue. They obviously won that game. They played well. We just made some mistakes that we probably shouldn't have, and we would have clean sweep that, I think. And that's partially probably because of chemistry between me and Robin, partially just because we had the best strategy. But I mean, you can narrow it down to whatever variables you want. It's just we played the best overall throughout the day, so we were able to capitalize on the opportunities we made for ourselves.
What fourth game?
There was no fourth game.
Yeah.
It was scrapped.
Yep. 1-1-1 scrap 1.
Exactly.
So I really do want to pick particularly yours and Kevin's brain, Ramblinnn, about you now played in this big tournament for this mode. What do you guys think the viability of this is moving forward? Do you think this is like the mode potentially?
I would never want to see it be the only mode, is my opinion. I think it is great. I think it's awesome. It has lots of potential. I would never want it to only be duos. I think solo, like there being a solo scene, is very important because ultimately there is still a solo ladder. So you want to be able to promote both, ideally. I think this still needs a lot of work. I was honestly impressed with how competitive I felt it was, in the sense that it felt like there was a lot of skill expression. It didn't feel like it was just super chaotic free for all, which it was definitely more chaotic than solos, but we felt like we were in control almost the whole time. So I think there is maybe that'll change once people get more used to the duels medal and it gets a little more solved. Maybe it gets a little less healthy. And Mort knows, and the devs know, that there's still a lot of work when it comes to duos. The 3-star 4-cost meta is not a good thing long term. So I am very curious to see what they do in that aspect, but also I'd like to see them expand on it a little bit. One thing I've talked about is how snowbally duos is, even compared to a solo queue game, because when one person is strong, you're both strong, and when both people are strong, it just compounds from there and there. Because once you get that stage 2 win streak, it's really hard to go bot 3 or like bot 2 in the terms of third or fourth.
Yeah, if you're in that spot where you're 100 streaking, like, and this is the thing, like in GVA knew this as well. GVA and I knew this as well. Like during the duos tourney, if you see and sometimes it was GVA and I, sometimes it was like Ramblinnn and Robin. Like if you see a duo and they're 100 HP, if you see them both win streaking through round 2, they're basically guaranteed a top 2 from that spot. Like maybe not a top 1, but almost always they're going to be top 2.
It's really hard to throw away that advantage. You can make as many mistakes as you want, but you've just done so much damage to the other players and giving yourself so much econ at that point that no matter what you do, you're probably still going to come out in second, just because people are going to die off before you. So I'm really curious if they can do anything specifically about that, but also just I would love to see a comeback mechanic. Even if they don't add one to solo
Stimmy.
queue, I think
Bring
they
back
really need.
Stimmy.
I think they need something
Powers.
to do. It literally, at the very bare minimum, it could be another, like one of the item transfer portals where you can send items to your friend. Just another one of those would honestly be a step up from what we have right now. Just to feel like you're not completely out after a bad start, which it kind of feels like in duos, just because of how far you can fall behind when you're both having a bad game.
That's what I noticed, like from casting. It was if a duo fell behind early, 90% of the time they were going bot 2, because at that point, in order to spike back, you don't just need one person to spike, you need 2 people to spike. Or else, even if one person's strong, unless they're strong enough to win a fight super quickly and port over, the other person's gonna be losing fights still, and you're gonna bleed out. If you're on like 20 HP going into stage 5, as if you don't have both players be strong, then you're fucked.
Yeah, I think there was a game. I think there was a game where Soju and Soju played Mercs, and he cashed out. He was pretty strong. He wasn't winning every fight because his items were a little scuffed, but it doesn't matter how strong Soju is because Precedent's not. He's still
Yeah.
losing fights. He's dying. They have 20 HP. It doesn't matter what Soju does. He can win every fight for the rest of the game. They still die. So,
Exactly. And the exception was there was a game you and Robin were pretty behind, but you did both spike because you hit Akali 2 and then he hit Jin 3. So, and your, like you said, your spike wasn't like absurd, but it was enough to let the other spike like really snowball and help you out. So that was one of the rare times where the comeback actually happened. But if that's not happening, if both partners aren't spiking, then you don't have a way back to the game because you're going to die eventually.
absolutely.
What I don't know, and this is just me being like a double up noob. How is damage calculated?
So it's exactly like the way you would expect it in solos, except it's halved.
Okay.
So yeah, you take it's as if you have 200 HP. It's not exactly the same, but you take a 1 unit loss, you're gonna take 1 damage, and you can actually take 0 if, like, for example, if you kill all their units and their friends come over, you don't take any from the reinforcements. But there
The
is still, I think there
reinforcements-
is stage damage. I don't know 100% on that, but I believe
Yeah,
there
I'm
is
not
as
too
well.
sure on the stage damage. And then at the very end, what happens is, regardless of how low you are, I do think it's calculated a little bit strangely. But what happens is, if you would have died during a round, you actually just go down to 1 HP, and so you have 1 life there. And if either you or your partner take damage, you die. I think how it works actually is it's only on lethal damage that procs. So if you actually go down to exactly 1 HP, you're still at 2 lives.
Oh, really?
That did,
Yeah.
that did happen.
There's a visual on the health bar that tells you if
Yeah,
you're 1 HP,
yeah.
but I really think that if, like, honestly, it's still confusing to see somebody at 1 HP. So I don't know if they
Yeah, I
wanna
mean, what?
change the UI
Okay,
on that, but it's a little
yeah,
misleading.
real quick, shooting some ideas here. Instead of putting them at 1 HP, what you can do is just like put an indicator there. Like, because I assume that how they calculate it is that you actually have to be at 0 HP, and then they say like, oh, you're at 0 HP, you have 1 life left.
Mhm.
So you can do like a little broken hearty thingy. You can do like a little skull and crossbones. Put it on the health thing instead. Riot, take notes. Do the thing. But it would make it easier to tell, because sometimes you will be at 2 lives but at 1 HP and you won't know. And that can sort of affect play a little bit, because
Yeah,
if
because
you're
you're
not really
playing
paying attention to
really
the
around it.
indicator, like the glowy red thing, then you won't know.
Okay, another question I have is, when the partner comes over, and you beat someone, do your units that went over also give them unit damage?
No.
No?
But there
Okay.
are interactions that exist, and I'm not sure 100% on all of them. But for example, if you bring Tom Kench and they spits out an item, that your partner actually gets it. Or
Mhm.
I believe
GP does it with gold, right? As well.
I think
Yeah,
Payday.
yeah.
I think Payday actually works both times.
So Payday, how
oh.
it works is if you have Payday, so you get the payoff on your board. If you go over to your partner's board, you still get that payoff. Like, your partner doesn't get the Payday. It's really weird because like the way that GP and Tom Kench work is that if you bring those units over, they actually pay your partner. You get the gold drop in it. Your partner can pick it up. But for Payday, if your syndicate units go
business.
over, you just get the gold. So you get to farm twice as much gold with Payday. Your partner gets nothing.
That's some O-Cage business shit if I've ever heard it.
So the only thing I would say, I don't know if I dislike it or if it's just it feels unintuitive, is right now the way that reinforcements work is they don't carry over any combat buffs that they built up over time. So that's stuff like
Mhm.
Kaisa missiles and Archangel and Academy stacks. All of that resets when you go over to your partner, and that kind of changes the item balance a little bit. But I don't know if that's a technical limitation, which I imagine in some ways it is, just because it's spawning the units fresh. But it just feels really bad to me just to have to lose your Rage Blade stacks, for example. And maybe that they want it that
Yeah.
way, but it definitely feels weird to me in terms of what's natural when it comes to TFT.
Yeah. You also
Yeah.
like lose Titan stacks, things like that. And Titans is really easy to tell, right? Because you go from 25, you go back down to 0, and you're like, oh.
So this leads us pretty well into my next thing I want to talk about, which is having played in this, having casted this, having viewed this, what do we
You're
think
as
should
important as
change?
us. Yes.
What do we think should change? I have no idea, I'll be honest. I haven't played it a lot myself. I haven't watched it. I haven't watched it. Nothing leaps out at me. I mean, obviously the item change, like items staying stacked, synergies staying stacked, whatever, going over would be nice. But I feel like I haven't noticed anything so far that I feel super strongly about. But I'm sure having played in the format and then having researched it and cast it, everyone else probably has some opinions on what they'd like to see change.
I'm gonna give my biggest complaint, and that's just this is a thing for TFT in general that they really need to improve. It's the consumable, the rune. And I'm not talking about 3-star forecast and how strong that is. I'm talking about how annoying it is to have it be a item on your bench as a consumable. Because not only does it take up a slot, it's the exact same color as both the Reforger and the loaded dice. It is very easy to use the wrong one. I mean,
yeah, it's awful. Like legit, I feel like I told this story before, but I've mistaken loaded dice for Reforger before, or like a Reforger for loaded dice before. Like straight
Oh
up.
yeah.
I think
I've heard
even
this.
if we don't get an entirely separate item ending like they were testing the one time, I think consumables absolutely need to be something separate. I don't think there should be any possibility of them crowding your bench. Like, oh, I have 2 reforgers and a remover, so I just have to waste one because it's taking up my slots. Like
Mhm.
that's not right. That needs to change to me. So I hope that's a priority because it's even worse in duos.
Yeah, nothing worse than if you have the the thing that breaks apart items?
Salvage.
Salvage.
Salvage. So like
Oh
if you
yeah.
have salvage,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And you have some of those like reforgers and like removers on your bench, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna make this transition. It is impossible. You cannot transition with salvage if you have all of that stuff on your bench. You're gonna lose that round guaranteed, and you're probably
Okay.
gonna
Yeah.
take infinite damage.
Imagine this. You have saved 2 runes of allegiance, you got a reforger at some point, and you take triple loaded dice. 6 consumables gone! Woo! Or 6 item slots
Yeah.
gone to consumables. I mean, obviously that's like such a like worst case niche scenario.
But stuff like that happens. Like it really
Yeah.
does.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's not as uncommon as you think it would be, especially in duos once you throw in that extra consumable.
I feel like
Maybe they should
everyone's
just increase bench size.
yeah, right.
I think more. I feel like that's something they're pretty against because they don't want. Like it would be a bit much. I don't even know the reasoning. It feels like something they're stubborn about, and I have no idea why.
I'm sure part of it is the map like design, the arena design. They have to completely change the arenas to accommodate
Yeah.
that. So in that
Like that
aspect,
little
maybe that doesn't fit their monetization, model goals. Like they like the way it currently is, but I don't know. It just it's more. What you did a Q&A today, and I want to go back and watch some of it. But just even from what I did listen to, there's a lot of stuff like that just been in TFT the entire time that they know they need to change. It's such a massive overhaul for what it probably doesn't accomplish that much in terms of actually progressing the game. The resources are really hard to allocate to it. And the other one that he mentioned today, and I asked him about, was the carousels, and especially the first carousel. Last time I was on the podcast, I mentioned to you guys the idea of an armory for the first carousel, and he said, "Yeah, maybe not an armory, but I agree. The first carousel is it's dumb. It doesn't work because like it's just a free for all ping flag compensation mess where you just hope you get the right items. Like it's I don't mind all the catch up mechanics of the other ones, but the first one is just awful to me."
Yeah.
Yeah. I was on the going back to the topic of items on benches and stuff. I feel like everyone has had that like pants shitting moment where they're like 2 lives max. They're it's like 5-1 or whatever. They're going to pivot. They have salvage bin. They sell all their shit, and there's this obnoxious blue orb that has like 10 items in the middle of the board.
Take this
And
off.
you can't take- and you're like, I need to roll. I need to pick up the items. I need to slim
And
everything.
then you go
it's
over to
just-
somebody else's board and you can't even pick up your items anymore. They're just left behind.
You're off your board. That really happened to me.
One
I was trying to
life?
go 9 and play Akali. I hit the Akali too, and I couldn't make any items on her. They were all on the ground.
Absolute worst experience to just see that obnoxious fucking blue orb in the middle of the board.
And you go over and
all
you
your
go, like, you
items.
go 1, and it's like, oh no.
You just start reforging shit so you like get rid of bench space. And you like the worst part is then you go to like slam items to make room to pick up the orbs. You slam like 2 things that you didn't really want, and then you go to pick up the orbs and it's still there because there's still more stuff in the fucking orb. It's just I would not mind some item overhaul in terms of like bench space, or just if that could ever not happen to me again, I could sleep much better at night. Honestly, if I knew that never again would I be put in that situation, I'm
What?
thumbs upping for
Thumbs
anyone who
up.
can't see.
Wait, idea. And it would also get you past the like Zephyr with scrap thing. If the devs are listening, I don't know how difficult this is to implement. It might be. I don't know. But what if when you go to sell, if you're doing hotkey, it's one thing, but if you're doing the like drag to sell, you have the sell bar gets split into like two halves. One says sell and split the items, all the items, or sell and keep all the items combined. Then you like have the option to like salvage bin stuff.
It's a little bit iffy because that would only you could like you're doing it for like one specific augment, and I don't know if they would
Yeah.
think it's like that worth it to like do a complete overhaul of the system just for like one augment.
Yeah, it would be very
in
cool.
that kind of aspect. I don't think they consider this a balanced aspect of salvage, but just like that you can't slam a full item on something that already has a component. That doesn't feel intentional to me. So
Yeah,
like those kind of limitations just feel off.
Yeah.
It really puts you off of taking salvage bin a lot of the times. Like the way that I think about it, salvage bin, I really usually think it's best if you like take it for the full item and then you split and you get two free components.
That's
Whereas,
actually
like,
how I like using it too.
Cause like if you're actually doing it to say like, oh my god, I have all of these components, I can play this early board, and then I can pivot into this because I actually have those items. They're just not there right now. That's almost never, like never ever ever, like the high value play, which is like a little bit unfortunate because I really think salvage, it'd be really great if you could play it like that, right? Because it's like there's a lot of skill expression there, but it's just like it's the way that it is right now. It's really, really difficult to pull something like that off.
And I think that's the idea they wanted behind Salvage Bin and like the Salvage Galaxy back in Set 3. Like the idea was like you have all these components, you can just do whatever with them and like reshuffle around your items as you need to. And it opens up a lot of cool possibilities. But like you said, yeah, realistically, it's really hard to implement like a full pivot of any kind with Salvage Bin going on, and it's just the UI limitations kind of limit the skill expression of the augments, so it's in its current state it is kind of rough.
I think you could start to even talk about a locking mechanism, and this isn't just for items but also for units, because stuff like Tom Kench, this set I think is an actual problem that you can accidentally feed your unit to Tom Kench. I don't like that it's built into the repositioning aspect of the game. Obviously, that's the most intuitive way to feed him. But if you could start to like consider the idea of locking a unit so it can't be sold, or even locking an item so it can't be salvaged, like I feel like if there's multiple purposes for it, maybe they could start to consider it worth the resources.
I would really. Oh yeah, go ahead, Abby's.
I was gonna say, as someone who is highly considering starting a group to support people who have been hurt by feeding a unit to Tom Kench, I wholeheartedly agree with that. I have lost many hours of sleep about over feeding my Zach 2 to Tom Kench in tournament.
I've never lost out from feeding Tom Kench, I will say. I've accidentally fed him Kaisa 2 before.
Oh, to be young.
But it was back when Elderwood was broken, so I replaced my Kaisa 2 with a Kaisa 1, and I still won the game. But, you know, there's Abby's is aware of these situations.
Okay. I have personally experienced this. I mean, I've talked more than enough about the whole tournament thing with feeding Zach to Kench. I've also seen someone in one of my games, they were like having the best game where they played Merc. They were super hard win streak after going to like 1 HP. They were feeling themselves, right? It's like 5-2. They accidentally got 3 to their Kench, and they go 6th.
Edge.
I mean, that's a Kench that does a lot of damage. I don't know.
Yeah, but he's single target. That's the issue.
Yeah. Well,
you can almost compare it to Teemo from last set, like blowing yourself up from 6 HP. But I feel like that's a much more conscious decision you make, and that's kind of your own fault. Like I don't know if I love that even, but you're not trying to feed your unit to Kench. You know, you're trying to reposition. So
Yeah.
I don't think those like that. I wouldn't consider that a mistake as much as it is probably something they should change for the devs.
Yeah, I totally agree. I don't think I'd be able to sleep at night if I took accountability for feeding that Zac to Kench, to be honest. I blame I blame the game. But yeah, I think I mean, were there any other things you were thinking that I mean that's obviously just a game change in general, right? The item thing. Anything duo specific, Kevin, Ramblinnn, and Jirachi, that you're like, man, this needs to get out now. And obviously, there's a problem with 3-star forecasts. Again, yeah, more addressed on his Q&A. I was big lurking in that Q&A for a while. He addressed that, uh, so that's something that they're looking for. But
One
Yeah.
thing I oh
Go
yeah,
ahead.
go ahead, Ramblin.
Okay, it's a really small thing. It's just that I've seen like casual players request. This isn't even personally something I would care for, but I've seen some casual players ask for the ability to fight their partner if they win the game. Little show off at the end, little show match, and you can make that an option. Like, make it a little toggle, just something do you want to fight your partner, and if not, the game ends. But well, move on to the next one. But seems like
What's the stick?
if you're building into the community aspect of TFT, and they're doing a great job of with duos. I think adding little fun stuff like that can be totally worth it.
I will say from like a ladder perspective, and this is just me coming from Dota Underlords, because they had like a duo mode implemented like way before this. It was like, I mean, it was back when I played it, which had to be like around 2 years ago. But the way that they implemented their duos mode was actually that your team had its own specific rank. And right now, the way that ladders works is, uh, it's all sort of solo points. If you play with somebody else, your points still go up. The awkward part about that is like, one, if you want to say like, oh, I played with multiple people, I want to see how we're doing in each regard, right? It's kind of nice if each specific team had its own kind of uh MMR, its own LP system compared to how it is right now, because right now it's very much just individually based. So you could have somebody climbing to the top of duos ladder, just doing with multiple people. There have been some talks about like exploiting ladder potentially with playing with new players, right? And that's really not something that I think is at the core of like, it's a duos mode. You really want, if you really wanted to see like who's the best duos partner, it should be like looking at which team is higher, I would say. So like one thing that I really hope that they do is sort of, because right now I think it's tailored towards like the hyper role format. They're sort of like what it seems like if they sort of took that ranking system and they just sort of moved it over into the duos mode. But what I would really like to see is sort of like just like a static duos based ranking system, which I think would be, one, a lot of fun because you can see like which pairing is like popping off, and might motivate people a bit more to play ladder, just to like, because right now if you look at ladder, it's a lot of solo players. Just like at the top of duos ladders, a lot of people that don't play with like a static partner, they play with the various people. And what happens is like they just accumulate points and points and points. And if you're like playing regularly with another person and you can't do it all the time, you can't catch up to that. And it doesn't, like, this is one thing that GV8 and I were like sort of a little bit turned off on when we were like practicing duos and trying to climb in duos, is that like if you're playing with a static partner, you have your own sort of schedules, you really can't climb the ladder. Like, the duos tournament right now, what they're doing is they're looking at the top of duos ladder, the person with the most points, and they're saying, okay, this guy plus their partner, or this person plus their partner, right? That's going to be the people that qualify for this next big duos tournament. Whereas like, does that really make sense? Does that really mean you're sending the best duo partner to the tournament versus some person who's just been swapping partners over and over again and just grinding the ladder because they're just primarily playing duos? To me, it doesn't really capture the spirit of it.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I do you want to talk about that duos tourney that's coming up, because it's an international one, to my understanding. I haven't looked super deep into it. I don't know if anyone has more insight into it than I do, but um, there has been a lot of not like drama, but a little bit of controversy around it regarding top of ladder potentially win trade, not like win trading, like making accounts and like is it's some kind of abuse of the rank system. I'm not too sure if how accurate that is. And then also another big thing is that Jose and Keith are not going to be able to play in it, which is a huge L for just the duo scene in general because they're an amazing team. Um, so
I'm so pissed for them. Like, what? This is an actual question. Like, why is SEA getting shafted so much? It's not even like, even if they had to like go through OCE because like they get lumped in. I mean, they all play on that server anyway. Give them something. Like, come on.
it must not be in their control, right? I feel like it must not be in Giant Slayer's control at this point. You think that
Oh,
they would
it's definitely right. It's definitely right. There's
Yeah.
if Giant. I mean, Jose had his insane streak on Fight Night. Keith went on at some point on Fight Night at some point. Like Giant Slayer loves those two. It's definitely something from Riot, and it's so confusing how they just they're leaving these two out. I mean, Jose has been low-key one of the best players in the world for a good few sets now. They're one of the best duos in the world at this point. Like,
They're so good.
Theoretically, if they could prove that against international competition, if they could compete in a tournament against, say, Ramblinnn Robin, who is such a well-established duo now, like,
Nah.
we would love
You
to see that. Like, I want to see Ramblinnn Robin go up against the CS.
you don't get
Hold on,
Jose and Keith.
SEA boys.
You get Jackie Love and their master partner that they've been.
Damn,
Grind ladder
RamKev
on.
egoing on Jackie Love.
It's Jackie Love with an I, by the way. You can't
Jackie
search
Love
Jackie
going on
Love on
themselves
Logis.
right now.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's there's obviously a lot of controversy around it. I imagine Ramblinnn is another half of a top team. Uh, you want to play the best teams, right? So not them not being able to compete in, I don't think this tournament, my understanding, is going to be it's just off of ladder. So I don't know if I don't think you and Robin are going to be in it. Might be
Oh, we're invited,
wrong
yes.
with that.
Yeah,
Oh, you were? Okay.
Yeah,
Cool,
so
cool,
it's
cool.
not
they're
both-
Okay,
doing
awesome,
one team for
awesome.
NA, one team for
Yeah.
Okay.
MVP tourneys, and then they're doing
Huge.
the rest from ladders.
I wasn't too sure. So being another top team, it's like a privilege and honor, a fun thing to play against the other best teams. So I'm sure it's not ideal. Uh, as much as it
It's
sucks. I don't know.
It's the first international showcase of duos.
In one of the
You
best
should
international
have some
teams
good
out
fucking teams there.
there.
And if the qualification system doesn't support getting the best teams there, then what's the point? Especially if they're going to try and establish duos as a format with a solid competitive future, which I think it has one. Like I think all of us agree. Like Double Up can be an awesome format with a great competitive scene alongside solos, but it needs to get a good start too. And if it doesn't get a good start, that can definitely stall things out. Like it can obviously recover. It's not like, oh, we don't have a good first international event or else this entire thing is dead. Okay, scrap it now. It'll get there, whether this first event is good or not. But it would help a lot if that first event was really good and had great competition.
Yeah, I mean I think it says a lot about the expedience of how an esport will grow, or like how well it'll do, how quickly it will become big, based off of how good the first tournament is. So this first Joe's tourney it'd be amazing. If it was just like the best tournament of all time. I don't know if there's any room, obviously, for changing the format in a way that would allow people like Jose and Keith to participate. I don't know what the reasoning is. I mean, I don't think anyone does at this point, and they
Yeah.
might.
I assume it's just they're not drawing from the SEA region's ladder. and because they're SEA natives, like they can't go elsewhere, even though
Would it be
they.
like a legal thing potentially, or
I have literally no idea at
I
this
don't
point.
think it's for us to even discuss, just because like we
Yeah.
obviously all
Yeah.
support it at this point. So
yeah,
if there is
that's
a
true.
reason, it better be a
Yeah.
good one.
Yeah, exactly. That is true. That is true. Best of wishes to them, and hopefully, best wishes to this tournament. I mean, hopefully it's going to be amazing. I'm ecstatic to hear that you guys are in it. I wasn't sure. It'd be weird for you guys not to be in it, I guess. That's awesome. So was it? You said there was an EU team getting invited as well,
Yeah, I
right?
think they're doing an EU tourney as well. I don't know when that is, but they're
Oh, sick.
doing
Coming
one
up.
from every region on the ladder, and then one NA team, one EU team extra.
I'm about to get Dax Alex in that tournament.
Oh,
the NA Soju NA Soju and Alex.
No, it's EU West.
Wait, did I say NA Soju? EU West
Yeah.
Soju. NA, it's NA EU West Soju. NA. Anyways. So any other big thoughts about Double Up? You know, we've talked a lot about the mode, the tournaments around it, the future of it. Any like closing remarks regarding Double Up?
I just hope it comes back soon. I mean, if they are taking it down, I mean, I think the game's gonna feel a little like I don't play it all the time, but that's mostly because I'm just waiting for the official launch. So I would love to see it come back soon. Obviously, they want to work on it and adjust it, but I don't want it like gone for an entire set or something like that. So hopefully, it's nothing crazy like that.
Yeah, I remember Mort saying earlier during the Q&A that sometime early next year they're going to make a big announcement regarding it.
Okay.
Um,
Definitely
so-
look forward to it then.
yeah, hopefully it will be good news because the mode is awesome, has a great future potentially, and a ton of room to grow as a mode. I mean, I think the fact that it was in its beta, in its infancy, and was as popular as it was, just I mean, viewership wise in the tournament, and just with at least the some vocal section of the TFT community. You know, we don't see the numbers behind the scenes. We don't know how well exactly it did, but it seems like it did well. So, and it's really fun. I think there's no one who's saying fuck duos. I don't want duos to come back. Give me 10 hours of solo queue. I don't want my friend. I don't have friends. Fuck it. No one's
friends
saying
are
that.
overrated. What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
I guess that's something we didn't talk about too much, and it's like I think it's almost a given, but they definitely should do a better job of supporting. Because there are people that are interested in playing just with randoms, and that's not really something that's supported right
Yeah,
now.
it's
There's no way to even communicate with your partner individually. So
In
like
all
just
chat,
little stuff
yeah.
like that would actually
Just
help.
an all chat. Can you send me this? And you're like,
Gold best cloak in all chat. But yes, there are people that want to play with randoms, and then sometimes that turns into actually playing with friends because you make friends that way. So if they can support that, that'll help the scene grow too.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be so cool if there are so many games online, right, where like you make friends just by being in random parts of people. I'm sure having played Destiny, like an MMO, that you have a lot of experience with that Ramblinnn. I remember when I was like 13, in World of Warcraft, flying around somewhere in the Burning Crusade expansion, and some guy was like, "Hey, you want to do this together?" I was like, "Fuck yeah, I want to do that together." And that's how friendship's born. So
Exactly.
to see that TFT can start something like that is very cool. And obviously, like, we do interact with people in a free-for-all lobby, but it's very different. It's very, very different. Particularly depending on elo. I was in in that 24-hour stream. I started unranked, just went as far as I could go, and people are toxic in lower elo.
oh yeah.
It's bad. It's so
I've been on my
bad.
Smurf and people have been really mean to me.
I was in like
They call me a
silver.
flat player.
Yeah, I was in like silver, and it was me and this other person, and I'm winning out, right? I'm like they had a win streak. I was winning out. I won the game, and like the round before I won the game, they just called me like a loser. I think they just said you're a fucking loser, and I'm like, dude.
I can't even count the number of GG easies I've seen when I'm coaching somebody.
It's crazy that the top level of the game is so much more friendly. Like, I feel like I get in the lobby right now, and I'm like, people, hey, like, hello, how is everyone? How is life?
I mean, it's also
And-
because we're all friends. Like we
That's
all know
true.
we all know each other. We all like each other for the most part. Down in like plat and diamond are like, oh, I'm diamond at this video game. I'm really good. I have massive ego. Like I'm better than you. And all of us at the top are like, well, I mean, there's ego in there, but like not.
My theory.
Yeah.
My theory. Here's my as a game theory. Is that all the league players, like the normal league players, are just in this like gold to like low diamond range, and that's why it's toxic because they're just I guess their mode or like they just got out of losers queue for like a 10-hour losers queue and they're like, I'm just gonna slam the game of TFT, fuck it, I'm slamming the game of TFT, and they just take it out of the lobby.
I think the more realistic thing here's my thought process, right? They play League, there's some hard stuck, some elo. They come to TFT, they get higher than what they were hard stuck at League, and that fucking inflates their heads beyond compare. They're like, holy moly, I'm godlike at this game, and they it's like the League amplified by the fact that they're higher rank at TFT than they are at League, and that just like shoots their ego through the roof. That's my theory.
Meanwhile, in high elo, I see a friend, and you already know I'm just over on their board having a good old time with the Chi-Chi. That Kevin left. Kevin no longer believes in Chi-Chi supremacy.
I was telling my chat yesterday. I used to have all of the Jinx skins. I don't have Heartseeker or Project, so those are the two relatively new ones. But
I feel like I have two memories that stand out. One of them is in set 5. Just like I think it was Iniko. It was Iniko, Moo, and I. We were just in a lobby together. Just literally, it was like a group chat the entire time, just doing the shit. And then recently, Ramblinnn and I came together, like right as the set came out, and we both were playing Pixie Mander, and the whole time we're just spamming.
We weren't scouting, we weren't positioning, we were literally just on each other's boards the entire game, and we went top 2.
That's what it should be, right? That's what it should be. I don't know. There's no reason to flame people. Any League players that watch or listen to the podcast, just have fun with it. You'll enjoy the game more. Spam, make a friend and get on their board with a Pixie Mander. The game will be 10 times more fun, guaranteed.
Complete side note, like that change they did. It was like the end of 5.5 with the like going to others' boards.
So fun.
I know a lot of us were concerned of like how it would change scouting. It hasn't changed scouting at all.
So I agree.
Really?
It really doesn't at high elo. The only thing I just don't like that you're encouraged to quick scout, which is switching between their board and your back. If they can just take that out in some way or whatever they want to do about it, if that's not something you have to do to be optimal, then I'm fine with it at this point. It's just like I don't like it, but I can let it be and ignore it because it is fun sometimes.
What's kind of funny is like you'll be in the 1v1 at the end of the game and you're still used to like quick scouting, and then you think about it for a second, right? And you're like, wait, they know.
They know.
I'm looking at them. I can't be doing anything else, but you still do it just because you're like, oh man, they're gonna see me. They're gonna see that I'm looking at their board. It's like, come on.
I think my favorite thing that this change brought, though, which I like, and I think it is, I don't know if it's a form of skill expression or just like a mind game, is I'll just sit on someone's board. The round will start.
Just don't move your board at all. Yeah. Don't move your board at all. Just sit on their board. They're expecting you to do something. You're just like, no.
They like move into my Zephyr. They're like, this guy's watching my board like a hawk. I'm gonna move my unit right to where their Zephyr is because there's no way they don't move. And then they just get Zephyr. They're like,
see, but this is like the 5% of like how this change has changed scouting. The other 95% is just dicking around on other people's boards.
Yeah.
So good change. I was skeptical about it at first, and a little vocal on Twitter. And you know what? Sure, it's fine. Actively going to other people's boards and just Chi-Chi boinging them instead of having to wait for them to come to my board during a fight. Like, oh, I can just BM Appies whenever instead of waiting for us to fight.
Every time we play together, Joshy's just on my shit, boinging away.
Okay, me and Chi-Chi have just become so iconic at this point. I'm getting a tattoo at some point.
Hell yeah.
Like, I'm not even joking.
Moral of the story is though, if you enjoy the game and you just, are nice to people, you'll have so much more fun with it. That's with anything in life. So just be a cool person.
You wanna play
Person who called
League?
me a loser and like gold. Fuck you. Be nice.
No, somebody was
Bitch.
actually toxic to me in PvE before. I was just playing PvE. I can tell you what it was 3.5, right? It was 3.5. Shredder was still in the game on PvE. So I was playing some Shredder. I wanted to test it out. And this person was like, of course you're playing Shredder. And they called me a hard stuck plat player. And I was like, what? Damn. Damn. These people are on some shit. But and that was in PvE. I was like, oh, snap.
Hey, if people are
Um,
gonna be toxic, they'll be toxic.
yeah. Speaking of people, we have some questions to answer, or at least one. I saw one earlier.
Speaking of
Um,
people.
yeah, speaking of
Good
the
segue,
human
good
race.
segue.
Speaking of the human race and creatures that can talk, someone I guess someone did ask a question earlier. I think the question was, it's kind of too far up now to see, but the question was, how did you pick your duos partners? I mean, I'm sure Ramblinnn had a super hard time picking King Robin. How do you guys pick your duos partners for the tournament? And I guess maybe it's a thing in general. Just how do you pick duos partners in general? I mean, I just pick my friends. I guess like I pick my nose. I guess I don't pick my nose, but I do pick my friends. Anyways, Kevin, how'd you pick GV8, or how did GV8 pick you? Either way, I don't know how that happened.
Um, Let me think about this for a second. I mean, it was like I was just sitting there one day, and then GVA sent me a message, and it's like duos, and I was like, okay. And then I was like, wait, I should talk to Dax about this.
He was
And then
like,
I talked to
"We
Dax
can have
about
an
this.
open relationship." Yes.
And basically, I was like, all right, Dax, we can do like in the evenings, and GV8 and I will be like in the morning type thing because GV8 streams early and Dax is a DJ.
Dax is a DJ.
I do remember there's like because Dax and I we have this Stimmy Pro sort of image, right? Dax got a commission is like a Mario Bros type thing, but with Stimmy Bros, and there's like the Stimmy orb there. Uh and so Dax posted it on Twitter, and this was like right after GVA was like duos over Discord, and then he like on the Twitter response, he did like this he did like a slash response because Dax's tweet was, if I remember correctly, was like, my duo partner for set 6 will be Kevin Ramen, Stimmy Bros. It was really funny, but yeah, that was about it.
Kevin is joining the polyamory club.
But it was because like I think GV8 and I do the first time we duoed was it was like back when nobody knew me. It was this one EU NA tournament. It was a duo tournament. I think like Soju and Kiyun were in there. I don't really remember who else was in there, honestly, because like what happened was uh GV8 was duoing with, I think his name is Marcus M35S. If anybody, I don't think he plays anymore, but
Rip Marcus.
uh he flaked and GV8 was there, just no partner. And then I just pop into his chat and I was like, put me in, coach. And so he put me in. And I actually carried GV8 that tourney. It was like the first time I like, no, actually, I did well in like a challenger series before that, but like after that, I like, it was another decent tourney. I was like dragging GV8's body across the finish line, but it was fun. It was fun because like before that, I was basically just like a GVA. You know, when I started TFT, I was just a GVA viewer. He was basically the only
Same.
stream that I watched, and I was like a big fan. I remember like the first time I got into his lobby, it was like in set 2. Ocean Mages was a thing. I hit like Ocean Lux 2, it was the nuts. I had like 8 oceans plus the mages plus like mage lux or something really dumb like that. And then like at the end of the game, I did my fanboy thing where I was like, GV8, I'm a big fan. I just prime sub to you. That was my message. GG.
Says fuck you and leaves.
Fuck you.
The no response. The no response leaves the game.
No. But he actually responded to me. I was like, oh my god, this is so cool.
That's sick. You know, I guess we can just go over the origin story if you're cool with it, Ramblinnn. How did you guys start doing together?
Sure. For those that haven't already heard, I mean, I started playing set 4. It was the first set I played any bit seriously. I had been Challenger before then, but I never played regularly up to that point. You know, I hit Challenger and like Decade once, I think it's set 2. And I just started streaming, I think at the end of set 3, because I was moving on from Destiny at that point. I kind of burnt down on it. The game was going in a direction I wasn't really happy with. So I was looking for something new to move over to, and that was TFT for me, because I'd been playing it for a while. I'd been enjoying it. I just never really took it super seriously. But set 4, I was enjoying the set enough to put some time into it. Ended up grinding up, hitting Challenger, maintaining it for most of the set. And at the end of set 4, maybe second last week, first, whatever, right before 4.5 PE, I got a message from Raditz, and he said, "Hey, we're trying to make a tourney here for PBE. I'm inviting some of the highest ranked players on ladder because they invited people like Soju that are just the big streamers and his friends and stuff like that. But he also wanted to get a good healthy mix of the community. So I was like rank 8 maybe at the time. I think Robin was maybe rank 18, 19, just out of that range where he would get invited. But he said, if you want to invite a partner, we're going to do a duos tourney, so go for it. But I didn't really know anybody at that point. I hadn't interacted with most of the other top players, but Robin's chat I hang out a few times, so he at least knew my name. He had seen me before. DM'd him on Twitter, said, let's play this tourney, and we won. Just right off the bat, easy win.
Yeah, free as hell.
I guess I was just proving myself to him because, like, obviously people knew Robin at that point. He was already decent, big streamer, but I mean, there's no reason for him to drop me at that point. So we just kind of wrote it out until now, and look at us now.
Are y'all undefeated in duos tourneys?
We played a really casual one at the end of 5-5. I mean, if you want to count that, we lost to Spencer and Aegon, but I don't think anybody cared about that tourney.
I think if this shows us anything, is that DM warriors stay in the DMs. Chicken end up being magical. Yeah.
Stay in chat. Make sure people recognize you in chat.
Yeah, DM people if there's a reason. Please don't randomly DM us if we don't know you.
Okay, yeah, that I've been getting a lot of DMs on. This is a total side note, but I've been getting a lot of DMs on Twitch in the middle of my games. Like there'll be all these accounts. I want to pull them up right now.
They pay you to throw.
Yes, yeah, they're like $80. Yes. They're like $80. You lose, I give you 80 USD. Yes? Question mark. There's like a space and a question mark. I'm like, for anyone who can't see, I'm shrugging with my. I'm like, huh?
See, what you gotta do is tell them, okay, PayPal me right now, and then I'll throw. No, you're not waiting until like after you throw and lose for them to PayPal. No, you make them PayPal you first, and then you don't care and play out the game as normal.
You know, like, my theory is
you're trying to do this shit. No, I'm just scamming you.
You know, in like workplaces, how they'll do like phishing. There'll be like phishing emails that you get sometimes, and they'll do like fake ones to like test who's there's like Mortdog on behind his computer. Like, I'm gonna make my account name like let me pull up one of the names. This person's name is A268910.
Okay, that's a bot account. No, that's just a bot account.
910 account. He's like spicy appies. $80 USD. You lose? Yes? Question mark? No? You bitch. And then he's like, he didn't respond. Good man. that's my.
I wonder who they are though, because like, who has anything to gain?
It's some kind of betting site. I don't know.
It's a bet. There's a betting site.
They're betting on NA games. Yeah.
What?
Are we actually important enough for them to be betting money on just our random fucking ladder games?
I feel like a racehorse.
My God!
We'll get to the bottom of this next episode. We're talking
some
about
research.
Yeah, we're gonna get to the bottom of this. But until then, that is all the time we have. Thank you so much to everyone who's been listening or watching. Thank you so much, Ramblinnn, for being a great guest as
Of course.
always. Thank you so much, Strachey and RamKev, for being great co-hosts. Thank you, Mateo, for always doing the production stuff. Thank you, everyone. I think I already said thank you for listening. Also, thank you to everyone who just subscribed on YouTube, because I know you all just subscribed on YouTube. Bitches, thank you.
And thanks to the future TFT balancers, I know 1 month from now, when armor plating has been nerfed, we'll all be having a great time.
Yes.
Also, side note, we are going to be off next week because
Yes.
Christmas Eve. Yeah.
Spend time with your families,
enough.
don't listen to us.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Well, until next time, chat. Listeners, everyone, thank you so much. And Arrivederci. I think I said that right. I'm
Close enough.
waving. Goodbye.
Arrivederci.